All right, shall we start? Great. Great. Ladies and gentlemen, dear Minister, colleagues, thank you very much for your interest in today's session. It is a very fair reaction to Armenia Investment Outlook session because it's a country that is unique in many ways. And in the past years that I've spent in Armenia, I've discovered that it is also very unique when it comes to tech prominence and entrepreneurship. Armenia is a small country of 3 million people, but in the recent years, it has already nurtured 2 tech unicorns. And this is a very impressive result if you take into account that Armenia doesn't have a real proximity to any major tech hubs. And even more, there is a handful of other companies that will most likely achieve this scale in the imminent investment rounds. Before we go into the detailed discussion of today's subject, I wanted to do a quick introduction of myself and fellow panel members, and also introduce some of the housekeeping issues regarding the timing and the flow of the session. So I'm George Akhalkatsi, and I head EBRD's resident office in Armenia. EBRD has been very active in Armenia for past years, and it has really accelerated investments in recent years. Cumulatively, we have invested about 2 billion euros in Armenia across 206 projects, and I'm very proud to say that 91% of these projects were in private sector. Going back to tech, I'm also very proud to say that EBRD, through its venture capital investment program, has invested 10 million equity in one of the unicorns that I mentioned, Pixart, which is, I would say, a poster boy of Armenian tech sector. Pixart is a unique company that has 150 million stable subscribers. And if you think about that, that's a company that created a service that is used by 50 times the number of the country's population. So it's very unique. Next to me, we have Deputy Mayor, Mr. Tigran Avinyan, who also served as a Deputy Prime Minister and is chairing a number of investment and educational boards, including Armenia's Renewable Resources and Energy Efficiency Fund. Next, we have Mr. Gevorg Mantasyan, who is the first Deputy Minister of High-Tech Industries, Armenia. And Gevorg has previously worked with the European Union and has been active in designing development strategies for the Prime Minister's Office and State Revenue Committee of Armenia. We continue with Arman Hojayan, who is Deputy Minister of Economy, and Arman was vital in designing a number of initiatives and policies that are geared towards modernization of the agricultural sector in Armenia. Mr. Levon Ohannesyan is the CEO of Armenia's main and national investment promotion agency, Enterprise in Armenia. And very rightly, he comes from private sector, to whom he promotes attractiveness of Armenia's investment opportunities. So he's worked with a number of multilateral institutions before. Mr. Haik Voskanyan is the CEO of one of the most dynamic and fast-growing banks in Armenia. That's Ineco Bank, who is a very good client of ours. And he will give us a perspective from the private sector. After introducing the panel, I can't hide that I'm a bit disappointed. We could have done a bit better with the gender balance, but maybe in our future events we can take that into account. I also have one very good news. Some of you might already know, but Armenia and Yerevan particularly will be hosting next annual general meeting in 2024, and I hope to see many of you in this beautiful city. Right at the end of this event, there will be an official signing ceremony attended by Minister of Finance, Mr. Vahe Hovanesyan, and EBRD Secretary General Kazuhiko Koguchi, and please bear with us for a few minutes to witness this historic moment for Armenia. Before I ask questions to the panel members, I would ask Mr. Aram Vardanyan from Enterprise Armenia, the investment director, to give us a brief presentation about Armenia's investment opportunities. And then we will spend maybe 5 minutes each on questions to leave 10 to 15 minutes for the audience. The audience will be using slido.com. You've probably seen this app before in previous events. And the code is 279662. If you are here, you will see on the seat in front of you a QR code that you can just scan. And please direct your questions to the panel members so that we can efficiently manage that. With that, Mr. Aram, please proceed with your presentation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Akhalkatsi. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Aram Vardanyan. I'm Investment Director at Enterprise Armenia, which is national authority for investment promotion and investor support. And it is my utmost pleasure and honor to be here today and to present to your attention a brief presentation on investment climate and business opportunities in the Republic of Armenia. For the starters, some general information about our country. We are a parliamentary republic with a territory of around 30,000 square kilometers and population of almost 3 million people. Our capital city is almost 1,800 years old, beautiful Yerevan, with almost 1 million people population. Our mother tongue is Armenian, although English language is widely spoken. Now, going forward to the economic statistics, it should be mentioned that during recent years, Armenian economy has been steadily and constantly growing at the rate of 6 to 7% annually. Indeed, we have a decline of almost 7.4% in pandemic year because of COVID pandemic, which we started to recover already in 2021, and already last year we have an unprecedented economic growth of 12.6%, which is, according to the International Monetary Fund, is the fourth fastest growing economy globally. We are having quite diversified economy. The most contributors to the GDP are services and trade, with information technologies and tourism in particular. It is industry, it is agriculture and construction. We have positive dynamics also in regards to employment, starting from in 2018 with the unemployment rate of 90%. Already last year we have registered again unprecedented low level of unemployment at 13%. The average monthly salary in Armenia is approximately 600 euros, and the minimum wage set by the state is around 200 euros. Armenian investment and business climate overall can be described as one of the most liberal and open ones in the world, and it is not only stated by us but also reaffirmed by different reputable institutions worldwide. According to OECD FDI Regulatory Restrictiveness Index, Armenia's FDI environment is one of the most open in the world. We are on the 10th position across 83 countries, and these countries include all OECD countries and G20 countries. According to the Heritage Foundation Index for 2023, Armenia is ranked 15th among 176 countries in the world. We have improvement in our positions, for 8 positions upper than in 2022. Same stable positions we are being granted also by the big three ranking agencies, in particular Fitch, Standard & Poor's, and Moody's. Starting from the beginning of the year, we have changed our outlook from negative to positive for Fitch and Standard & Poor's, and very much looking forward to Moody's also to reaffirm the positive outlook. When we are saying that the FDI legislation is open and liberal, what we are meaning in particular, it is almost no restrictions when it comes to foreign direct investments. So more than 100% ownership is permitted to foreign citizens when it comes to owning a company. The legal regime for foreigners and foreign-owned companies cannot be less favorable than the ones that for the citizens. There are no restrictions on remittances, on repatriation of profits, on foreign currency exchange, also on staff recruitment. And probably most importantly, foreign citizens can have long-term lease contracts when it comes to the land, and companies owned even 100% by the foreigners can also own a land in Armenia. Safety and security protection of investments, especially foreign ones, are at the central attention of the government. And in this regard, it should be mentioned that Armenia is a signatory of the World Bank's exit, which practically means that if the foreign investor is having a dispute with the state, it can take it to the international arbitration. At the same time, Armenia is a member of MIGA, again, of the World Bank, which guarantees from non-commercial risks and also political risks. Armenia have signed bilateral investment treaties with almost 43 countries, and with 51 countries, there are double taxation treaties in place. Overall, Armenian market, when it comes to the population, is quite limited and modest, of around 3 million people. And for successful FDI attraction and for the whole utilization of the potential of Armenian economy, it is required to build export-oriented economy. In this regard, Armenian government is implementing quite diverse foreign economic policies, and through memberships to different economic unions and through different preferential trade regimes, the market of more than 1 billion consumers is opened up for products made in Armenia on preferential terms. And basically, the export destination diversification is again one of the priorities for Armenian government. And over time, we are witnessing the new markets opening up for Armenian products. More than half of our exports are going particularly to the neighboring countries and the countries of Eurasian Economic Union. The second biggest export destination for Armenian products are the countries of European Union. But in recent years, we have expanded the geography for Armenian production, and nowadays markets of Middle East, in particular the United Arab Emirates, is a huge destination for Armenian exports. Exports are growing also to the markets like China and US. What in particular we are exporting? So the export is diversified very much as well. More than 20% of our exports are processed and non-processed foods. Almost 20%, these are the result of mining industry, the mining products. At around 4%, we are exporting textiles, and more than 27%, we are exporting precious stones, non-precious stones, jewelry out of it. 2022 was indeed extraordinary year for Armenian exports as well. As you can see on the slide, we have registered almost 80% of growth of Armenian exports, and we surpassed for the first time in the history the level of $5 billion of exports from Armenia. Overall, the taxation system in Armenia can be described with a low tax burden, especially when comparing to European countries. But at the same time, the government of Armenia being committed to make even more lucrative conditions for foreign investors are constantly revising the taxation system, making doing business in Armenia for investors even more favorable. So in recent years, the profit tax has been decreased from 20% to 18%, and personal income tax, which was like years ago, it was progressive tax. Nowadays, it is flat tax, but it was also decreased gradually and annually from 23% up to the 20% nowadays. The dividend tax is 5%, and it is not being taxed in terms of it is being reinvested. There are also preferential tax regimes for smaller and medium-sized enterprises whose turnover is not exceeding almost 200,000 euros annually. But at the same time, Armenian government is also trying to create even more favorable conditions for investors by providing different tax incentives. I wouldn't like to stop for long describing in details each and every incentive, but in a nutshell, it is all about incentives that are being applied on the regional logic, on sectoral logic, and in terms of implementation of different investment projects. And these incentives refer to mostly exemptions from corporate taxes. Going further, very important initiatives that kick-started just during the last couple of years, during last year even. First one, the government aiming to drastically improve the competitiveness of Armenian workforce, bringing expertise and best practice, and has announced a specialized program on attraction of highly qualified specialists into the private sector of Armenia by subsidizing and giving reimbursements to the salaries paid to the highly qualified specialists that were attracted from abroad. The second one is in order to cover all the risks of the investors when it comes to implementing big investment projects where the site itself lacks infrastructure, the government is providing up to 20% of reimbursement for the creation of infrastructure around the sites where investment projects is being implemented. Different subsidizing and preferential credits and leasing schemes are in place, again, subsidized by the government, and especially in agriculture sphere, more than a dozen of programs, supporting programs for implementing investment projects in that particular area. Well, finally, we are having 4 free economic zones functioning in Armenia, 2 in the capital city, aiming for high-tech industrial production and jewelry, watchmaking, and the 2 in the regions of Armenia, in particular in Hrazdan city, which is not far from the capital city, and in Mehri, which is basically the border, the southern border of Armenia. When we're talking to investors, basically their first question is what are the areas that you believe that are the most interesting can be for foreign investors. And over time we have come up with this list of sectors which we believe bear the biggest potential to attract foreign investments and to give proper return on them. These are high-tech and information technologies, agriculture, which is basically while having climatic conditions, everything in place, fertile soil, but nowadays it's undergoing big changes overall and is turning into a smart agriculture. Interconnected with that, indeed, food processing, which adds a great value to the agricultural initial production. It is tourism, textile, and pharmaceutical. When we're talking about open and liberal investment climate, nothing can describe more vividly than basically these slides. Hundreds of global multinational corporations are successfully doing business in Armenia. I mean, you can see. Well, sir, we're about the private sector in regards to, real investments, no financial part. But obviously, and I can definitely state that a lot of these companies that are here are definitely in Armenia and successfully conducting business, probably thanks to the support of EBRD, because lots of initiatives that we are aware. And in terms of IFIs, I believe EBRD is the largest one, if I'm not mistaken on that, in Armenia in particular when it comes to financing the private sector. Well, and finally, just a few words about who we are. We are National Authority for Investment Promotion and Investor Support. We are created by the government and we are chaired by Prime Minister. We are responsible for FDI attraction, for providing aftercare services, also facilitating the investment life cycle of both domestic and foreign investors. I believe I fit in the time frame, so thank you so much. Yeah, and we'll be happy to answer to all your questions if you might have ones. Thank you.
Dear Mr. Vardanian, thank you very much for setting the scene. And with that, we can move to the panel discussion. I will open up with a question to Deputy Mayor. Because Yerevan, if you think about it, is a powerhouse when it comes to Armenian GDP, generating about 60% of it. So a lot of industries are concentrated in Yerevan, and we've had a very successful relationship with the city. It was one of the first cities that joined EBRD's Green Cities framework, and we've done a number of projects under this framework, including smart electricity metering systems, the green buses that you've probably already seen in Yerevan streets. We've also invested in metro infrastructure, in water infrastructure, street lighting. I would like to thank Deputy Mayor for a very fruitful collaboration, and also ask you how does the municipality create the environment that is hospitable to the businesses, to tech industry. What incentives and policies are you designing to make Yerevan more prosperous, more inclusive, and green city?
Thank you, George. Thanks to the hosts of the event. Well, as you may have seen, the GDP growth in Armenia is quite intensive, and that brings a lot of issues for the city itself. So the daily increase in construction, transportation, production and services, it brings new requirements for the volume and speed of the information exchange in the city. And as George mentioned, we've implemented a lot of successful projects with EBRD, with other IFI partners. Particularly, we're now transforming the whole public transportation system, and thanks to EU EBRD, we've acquired 87 MAN German buses, which are practically green. We're looking forward to change our old 10 years old Chinese buses with new electric buses. We're looking into having the general controlling system in place. But I would like to talk more about probably the green part of it, because this is one of the most challenging issues that Yerevan has currently. The air pollution is growing in Yerevan, and the major factors are, of course, the transportation, the growing transportation in the city, and that is also one of the issues of the public transport that we had. So we didn't really have the best public transportation in the city. That is why people just bought cars and bought and bought and bought. So just for just one example, I would say that one bus carries like people that would be in 60 cars. Just one bus replaces 60 to 80 cars. That is quite, I think, an effort to go to tackle the air pollution. The second part is the construction, the dust that the construction creates. This year we have around 20% growth in the construction sectors, and practically that is one of the sectors that is currently vibrant. The prices are growing and the volumes are growing, and here we are going more into a restrictive mode. So we're looking into practically how the construction is organized, and we're pretty restrictive in that area. We implement a lot of new modules that are that people in Yerevan use. I mean, we're looking into 150 services that we're going to digitize. And practically, by the way, construction permits being one of them. And this is a process of business process re-engineering, optimizing, and then digitizing. This is also something that Yerevan is very keen to do. Practically, we're looking into digitization of most of our services that the municipality is providing to the citizens. But of course, it is very important that on the national level we have the right infrastructure. That means at least the e-signatures, at least, well, we already have the interoperability systems, the databases that are interlinked and working together. So that is like the major infrastructure that we need on the subnational level. Well, practically, we're if going less on this technological things and more on just we're planting trees, just plain and simple. We're planting a lot of trees. We're planting forests. We're just freeing up the green areas that for 30 years, I don't know, have grown with old cafes and small buildings and shops even. So we're just demolishing all of that, and we're bringing back the public areas, giving it back to the public. And I think this is also one of the most important things that Yerevan, the municipality, is doing, because you're creating like the right atmosphere, the right look and feel of a real city, a vibrant city that wants to create comfort for its citizens. So practically, and we of course had a lot of other projects that we did with other partners like EIB, European Union. We've renovated kindergartens. We've made them energy efficient. Probably in a couple of years we won't have any kindergarten that would need renovation. And all of these, of course, are thanks to our partners as well, thanks to EBRD, EIB, EU, and of course our staff that has learned a lot during these years. And hopefully in 5 to 7 years we will see Yerevan as a completely kind of different green city that is fully energy efficient, that is generating its own energy from the sun, and has the public transportation all renovated. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Avinian. Staying in Yerevan, I'll ask a question to Mr. Mantasyan. The Russian invasion of Ukraine has caused a mass exodus of companies and professionals from the impacted countries, and this is not only Russia and Ukraine, but also Belarus and other countries. And a lot of these people and companies have found home in the cities that Mr. Avinian just described, and impossible not to see how many people, how many new faces are in Armenia, and also major relocation of tech companies. This has created opportunities for Armenia, and I'm curious to hear what the government, what the line ministries do to maintain this talent and the companies in Armenia, and what potential spillover effects this can have on Armenian economy and the broader tech sector.
Thank you very much, George, for having and for the very important question about the talent. This is one of the most important framing here. And I think anything which we're doing, and especially the actions of the government, the narrative is very important. In Armenia, in my personal identity, the mountain Ararat played a huge role, which was a symbol of the second chance for the humanity. Then our nation get a second chance. And here the people, due to the situations what's going globally, they found a second chance in Armenia. It's an opportunity for a lot of people, fairly you mentioned. A lot of people are residenting right now in Yerevan, but we also try to promote, and they also usually looking for the opportunities out of Yerevan as well. Yerevan is a superhouse and powerhouse for the economy, definitely, and infrastructure is very actively developing. And to me personally, it's one of the best cities to live by the convenience. But the general diverse development of the country is very one of the most important direction. And here, thank you to our international financial partners. There is a huge investment in developing the country and on rebuilding and transforming to a more competitive state. I mentioned the mountain Ararat, but after the mountain Ararat, there is a story of the Nile. The Noah's Ark was a place for the survival for a lot of people, but here a lot of people also find the new talents for the second home to develop their companies and to keep going on investing of the global growth of our national economy. The growth is quite impressive, but we try to keep it humble, not to take the flag and wave about it. But we understand that there is a lot of challenges of this growth. To keep it sustainable and give the, let's say, the diversification of the wealth of this growth, which is a general process. And already Aram on his presentation about the opportunities in Armenia, there was mentioned few incentives in the government program, especially related to the high-tech and IT. I want to highlight a very important thing. It's not only monetary support. It's a support to fight the shock which the global processes are bringing on the adaptation processes. So it's not just the buying, the giving the subsidies to the companies to come and work. In a long term, we're focused on the following things. Focus on increasing the competitiveness of the state, delivering the public services. The digitalization agenda is one of the strong, but it's very clear to mention. It's not the goal just to digitalize for having on the digits. This is a tool which will increase the national competitiveness, which is linked to the quality of the public services. We clearly understand that we focus on delivering the services, especially for the people, for the new members of the society and our traditional members of society, our own citizens, to have the feel and the sense of the strong state which is standing and supporting the talented people to grow. So I will reframe the talented topic which you mentioned. It's an opportunity for the mobility of the people globally to get the access to the quality of the services and shape together with us to be competitive and overcome the challenges which is happening around the world. So this will be my short answer.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You mentioned that this...
And if I may, one thing as well about the Pixart. The stable clients is stably growing. It's just not the stable active users.
Very good. You mentioned that there's a lot of activity outside of Yerevan as well. And in fact, recently I was in Dilijan to attend a competition among school children in robotics. And I was really blown away to see in a matter of few hours what the kids have designed and built. You know, these machines could pick the fruit, irrigate the mock orchards, and it really showed how advanced and talented talent is in Armenia, and how high the technical capacities are in the population, and also taught from a very early stage. So with that, I wanted to ask a question to the Deputy Minister of Economy, Mr. Hojayan. How do you look at the agriculture sector? I mean, the agricultural sector is very energy and resource intensive, as we know, and it is necessary to bring in tech to sophisticate it so that Armenia can address one of its main challenges that was outlined by Mr. Vardanyan, which is diversification of its export markets. And the increased productivity and sophistication of the products is necessary to successfully compete on those markets. So we would be very curious to hear what is your take on that.
Well, it's always dangerous to ask me a question about agriculture because I'm becoming unstoppable, but I will try to follow the timing. So the integration of robotics and technology in agriculture sector, it is often referred to as precision agriculture and smart farming. And it has a great potential to revolutionize the industry by increasing productivity, efficiency, and sustainability. And Armenia, with its very significant share of agriculture in GDP of in the economy of Armenia, it can benefit from these investments. By leveraging on robotics and automation, the tasks that were traditionally labor-intensive, these can easily become streamlined and also can benefit from it. And meanwhile, the use of drones, sensors, and data analytics can provide valuable insights on soil quality, crop health, and yield predictability to enable farmers to make data-driven decisions and optimize their production processes. So the mentioned initiatives are aligned with the priorities and objectives of the Ministry of Economy of Armenia, focusing on integration of technology into the production. So this will lead to diversification of our export markets. While talking about diversification of the markets, it is worth to mention that the recent period, Armenia national currency is experiencing a rapid appreciation. And of course, to my opinion, this can be an exact moment when the producers can benefit in investing in acquiring new technologies. Of course, we all understand that appreciation of the local currency in a short term also poses some negative effects, but investing in technology has many advantages. And that is why Armenian government is intensively supporting farmers, processors, and producers to update their production capacities and to apply frontier technologies. And there are many kinds of governmental programs. For example, the government of Armenia supports establishment of intensive orchards. This is aiming to diversify our fresh produce market. We support in acquisition of agricultural equipment and processing equipment, increasing post-harvest handling capacities, introducing smart farming and innovative greenhouses. And within the last 2 years, the active portfolio of these governmental projects, it exceeds around $600 million. And these technological advancements will enhance efficiency, leading to increased productivity. And of course, these are accompanied with, as my colleague Mr. Vardanyan mentioned, these are accompanied with different kind of projects in engaging also experts, high-ranked experts in the production. And while doing so, the companies can increase efficiency, can also optimize their costs, have quality products, and they can diversify their markets and be competitive in local and international markets. And just in addition to this, I would like to say that currently at the Ministry of Economy, we are drafting a new project also to support the producers to apply food safety standards. And this will be also supported by the government. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very interesting indeed. You mentioned that the number of government incentives that support this sector, but it will be very difficult to develop this sector without the support from the commercial banks. And I would like to ask Mr. Voskonyan, what does the Armenian banking sector does to increase this efficiency, productivity, and helps the companies in their digital transition?
Thank you. In general, as you all know, we are dealing with risks. And any modernization, any productivity increase will reduce that risk in the economy and eventually in the banking system. So both digitalization, investments in modernization, all the government programs, and also programs supported by IFIs, especially BRD. Here we are seeing decreased risks, which allows us to go more into the economy to finance more. And also, this will be more predictable for us. All the cash flows, all the inflows and outflows will be more predictable for the banking system. So it will be easy for us also to invest, even without the support of the government or without the support of IFIs. I want to specifically mention the synergy that has been created with in conjunction with joining two government support programs and also EBRD financed and donor financed programs. In this case, we have, in one hand, we have subsidy of the interest rates. In other hand, we have cashbacks and all different types of incentives, which creates even more space for business to grow and more space for business to invest their own money into the modernization of their business. So this synergy is very important. And coming back to digitalization that Mr. Mantasyan mentioned, I want to also mention that banking system was the leader in digitalization, but we are kind of in the limits now, and there is a need to create infrastructure in for digitalization, which I know is underway, which is e-governance and way to e-society, which, as I mentioned from the beginning, further will either decrease the operating costs of the banks and businesses or increase the transparency in the system, which eventually will create more monetization of the economy and more multiplicative effect that the banks will create and also all of us will create when supporting the economy.
Thank you very much. So we have 15 minutes left, and I would encourage you again to send questions because after Mr. Ohanessian's response, we will be answering questions from the public. If it's complicated, if your phone is dead, you can also just raise a hand and ask a question in an old-fashioned way. That's also fine. Mr. Voskonyan mentions that a lot of Armenian companies are reinvesting their profits and developing their companies and improving the productivity. And if we look at the Armenian FDI, in fact, reinvested profits represents the biggest share of the FDI, which is understandable because we are in Armenia in a challenging environment geopolitically, and not only in the South Caucasus but also in broader regions. So it's very difficult to bring in large international investors. So you have a very difficult job, Mr. Ohanessian, and it would be very useful for the benefit of some of the investors who might be in the room today to explain in brief what support mechanisms you have, what tools you have to facilitate these investments. And then we'll keep about 10 minutes for the Q&A with the audience.
Thank you, George. Thank you for this opportunity. And of course, FDI attraction is a huge challenge for any investment promotion agencies worldwide today, because this field is very sensitive, to be honest, and it has big competition. And the market is extremely tight as well, and a lot of reasons are is dependent on a lot of factors, let's say, starting from security, macroeconomics, and of course geopolitical situation worldwide. And we try to improve our situation. We see few direction, and like it's to use good incentives, which we work with the government and this field. Of course, our awareness in different stages and events worldwide, and we was participating in big different events with our pavilions, like annual investment meetings in Dubai, then annual investment meeting in Abu Dhabi, which gives us awareness, and we see how we can attract FDI from different stages. Of course, if we're talking about the numbers, today Enterprise Armenia has about 150, in our pipeline we have 150 initiatives, total value which is $3 billion US, which we think it's not bad for our country. And we continue, of course, improving our business environment. Talking about, I will not go deep about our organization because my colleague Aram Vartanyan already mentioned who we are, and about reinvestment. Of course, we see big potential there, and today we are working hard on that to make reinvestment with our aftercare program which we have. So we are going to all companies with foreign capital to say them hello, to say how we can help them to make this reinvestor more bigger than we have today. And talking about domestic our investors, there is also unprecedented activeness of our local investors, which gives us also very huge potential. So, if you will have question to more go deeper, thank you very much for this opportunity again, George. And
thank you. Actually, we are doing really well on time. I'm very impressed. So we have 3 questions so far. I've been checking the iPad, and I'll go straight to questions, and then we will do the signing, right? So the first question is about renewable energy, and this is the sector that is covered by the Ministry of Territorial Administration and Infrastructure, who is not present here today, but luckily Mr. Avinian is the chairman of the Renewable Resources and Energy Efficiency Fund, so we can potentially direct question to him. I would be also very excited to talk about the renewables in Armenia that we support as much as we can, but I'll let government representatives and municipalities talk about it. So the question is from Christoph Bauer, asking about any plans to increase the share of renewable energy, and also if this means small decentralized hydropower, photovoltaic and wind farms.
Thanks for the question. Well, the energy sector in Armenia is pretty diverse already. We have hydro stations, we have thermal stations, we have nuclear plant, we have solar stations, and practically the portion of each and every is quite balanced. So our main objective up to 2030, and I'm talking about the plan that we had still in 2018, was to grow our solar systems up to 1,000 megawatts, and practically we are already very close to that number. And practically we're doing several major projects on solar system development. We're doing a project with UAE Masdar Fund, 200 megawatts of solar power plant in one of our regions. We're doing that with our Armenian National Interest Fund, which is also a sovereign fund that is also co-investing in this kind of projects. And practically the energy sector is one of the most developed sectors in the country, and also very interesting for the investors, but of course very much regulated. And well, the last thing that we did, we are going into a free market. We already have a free energy market. We will have the online platforms where you can buy and sell, and practically you can generate your energy and sell it through the market online. And this is also something that creates opportunities for investors, not to go through the scrutinized processes, but to just, let's say, invest in solar power plants and just sell the energy through to the open market. Thank you.
Thank you. It looks like renewable energy is very popular, but I'll switch to another question which talks about logistical challenges of being a landlocked country and a mountainous country. And how does Armenia solve that to support the international trade? I would also like to add on the renewables that I was fascinated to learn that Armenia is a destination that has one of the highest efficiencies when it comes to solar energy generation, because it is a plateau and a lot of the territory is close to 2,000 meters, so high altitude, high radiation, but also high difference in day and night temperature, which allows the solar panels to cool down and be more efficient. And I think it's over 300 days on average annually that sun is shining. So that is why we have large investors coming into Armenia to invest in solar.
Us and Uzbekistan.
Yes. And just linking this to the questions that I just saw about logistical challenges, that is also one of the reasons maybe why wind is not that developed so much yet, because getting the turbines into Armenia is a real logistical nightmare, because there are several mountain passes that need to be crossed, but there's a big initiative which is called North-South Corridor for Armenia, which connects it to the middle corridor that is running through Georgia. And with further modernization, we believe that that challenge will also be solved. I hope I didn't answer the question on the trade, but maybe Minister of Economy, Deputy Minister of Economy could address the logistical challenges of being a landlocked country and a mountainous terrain.
Yeah, actually, the logistical issues still remain as a challenge for us. And of course, we tried several options in order to come up with some specific solutions. Unfortunately, the external environment is changing quite fast. And this is creating additional impediments for traders, for exporters, because the logistics is always changing. And it also was overloaded during the 2022 year. So Armenian government tried to initiate some new option for logistics. It's not about trucks, but also engaging ferry from Batumi port to different other destinations. So actually the try was not very much successful because there were quite several issues. But as of today, my colleague, another deputy minister who is in charge for that logistical services, he informed me that there was a successful trial already, and it can be possible via container type of ferry. So I think that one of the options is also the ferry option. And the other one also still we are working on having some more efficiency, bringing more efficiency in the air transportation as well. But still, this remains one of the challenges, untackled challenges for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the last question, which is quite widely discussed these days, and there was also a few articles, and it was covered by EBRD study as well from the Economist Office, is about export growth to export growth of Armenia and countries surrounding Russia. You mentioned, the question is basically that the presentation mentions that there was a 77% increase in exports in 2022, and 45% of that was Russia. And the question is such a high growth caused by re-exports of goods from Armenia to Russia? Maybe again to the Deputy Minister of Economy, because I know that your ministry is in wide discussions on this topic.
Actually, as I already mentioned, these kind of different shocks are also causing the markets to be rechanged. So if one type of products are being eliminated from a market, but there is still the demand exists, and this demand should be anyhow be fulfilled. And it's also open up some opportunities for Armenian producers to fulfill in the markets, even though I have already mentioned the challenges with the appreciation of Armenian national currency, which also is not very much in favor for exporters, and they are also suffering because all the contracts are with different kind of currencies, not Armenian national dram. But there was a demand, and there is a demand, and this demand is being fulfilled with Armenian type of products, and new type of products are coming up to meet the demand. So this is mainly the case.
Thank you very much. With that, we will finish the panel discussion. Thank you very much for your questions, for your time and attendance and interest, and we will move on to the official signing ceremony of the memorandum regarding annual general meeting in Yerevan next year. Thank you very much.